Intruders! To arms! Defend the gate! Toe! No!
But this is not where the story begins. To understand the fall of Angkor, we have to go back more than 300 years. 1,000 years before the first stone of Angkor Wat was laid, this was a world ruled by water. Vast wetlands stretched as far as the eye could see, swallowing the earth whole, and thick forests stood silent, untouched, unnamed, unknown. But the people who came here didn't fight the water. They learned to live with it. Rivers became roads, lakes turned into markets, and the wetlands gave them more fish than they could eat. Boats were used to move people, food, and goods on the flooded land. Villages were built on wooden stilts. Then, the water offered them something much more precious: rice. Fields across the floodplains fed more people and helped small villages expand. Life was no longer simply survival for the Khmer, and abundance would change everything. Dark clouds would accumulate over the Khmer plains every year. The monsoon was on its way. But when the rains did come, they came with great fury. Rivers rose and breached their banks. Fields were submerged by the floodwaters. Harvests might be wiped out in days. But the Khmer were not afraid of the sea. Instead, they looked for ways to tame it. Across the kingdom, thousands of workers constructed canals by hand, gradually altering the soil itself. They built great tanks to catch the rains of the season and store it for the long months ahead. Then the dry season came. Rivers receded. Beneath the merciless sun, the ground split. Now, the water stored might be released by a large network of canals, bringing life back to the dry fields. The harvests increased, and cities expanded. Power increased. And out of this control of water, an empire was built. The Khmer Empire was at the height of its dominance by the early 12th century, and a new king had taken the throne. His name was Surya Varman II. Before Vishnu, there was Surya Varman II. I had a vision, a gigantic temple, unlike anything the Khmer world had ever seen, to a sacrifice to his god Vishnu. And he called together his priests, his architects, and his most intimate advisors to tell them of a wondrous vision. It wouldn't merely be a place of worship. It would be a monument to strength, to religion, to immortality, something that would outlast them all. He looked onto one of the greatest cities that the world has ever seen. This is where it all started, before Angkor Wat could rise. Every day, thousands of craftsmen chipped away by hand at huge blocks of sandstone, one strike at a time. But that was just the beginning. The real test came in the moving. Elephants and workers pulled stones of unimaginable weight through woodlands and across open ground. But the Khmer realized the best way was through the river. So rivers and canals were their roads, silently conveying the future of Angkor to its goal. The stones were more than building blocks. In the appropriate hands, they became something else. Gods, dancers, rulers, whole battles in rock. Then each finished brick was lifted into place with amazing accuracy until the temple itself became a work of art. The temple expanded year by year. The king's vision became more tangible with each stone set. Slowly, Angkor Wat started to appear over the area around it. But the true achievement was not in stone at all. Workers around the temple remade the ground itself, creating huge reservoirs and canals to catch the monsoon rains. It was water, not stone, that sustained Angkor. Water that created an empire. Finally, after nearly 40 years of unremitting labor, Angkor Wat was finished. The complex, 160 hectares in size, was protected by a gigantic 190-meter wide moat. It was a wonder of hydraulic engineering with a complicated network of canals that controlled millions of cubic meters of water. From thousands of laborers and artisans to priests and engineers, an entire society labored to quarry and transport millions of sandstone blocks. It is still more than the world's greatest religious monument. It is a witness to the Khmer Empire at its utmost peak. But Angkor Wat was never built to impress the world. It was built to honor the gods. As the first worshippers crossed these stone causeways, they believed they were walking toward Mount Meru, the sacred center of the universe, in Hindu cosmology. Each step was a part of a spiritual journey, where architecture and faith became one. This wasn't just another court ceremony for Suryavarman II. It was a direct bridge to the divine. As the incense drifted upward, so did the hopes of a king that his borders would remain secure, his people blessed, and his empire eternal. Within these sacred walls, every soul came with a different hope. In the eyes of the divine, all knelt beneath the same stone, hoping that their whispered prayers would find their way to the heavens. Suryavarman II's vision grew into one of the greatest cities of the medieval world. Around Angkor Wat, bustling markets, luxury goods, and traders from distant lands filled its streets, making it one of the richest and most magnificent capitals on earth. They believed their gods would always protect Angkor, but not even the greatest of temples could change destiny. Already, the soldiers of Siam approached the city, while prayers sounded in these holy chambers. Suryavarman II had brought the Khmer Empire to its golden age. But 300 years later, fissures began to show. The streets of Angkor grew restless. Then came there to the court royal. Before long, the neighbors knew about it too. The Khmer Empire was becoming more chaotic and declining. So the Ayutthaya kings took this opportunity to attack. And from the west, they launched their march to Angkor. That night, the drums of Ayutthaya army echoed through the dark jungle. By morning, everything would be different. Angkor, the city the Khmer had called home for centuries, would no longer be theirs. The fall of Angkor did not empty the city overnight. But little by little, the people began to leave day by day. Families abandoned their home. Workshops fell silent. After streets that had once echoed with life grew quieter each passing day. The markets closed. Trade disappeared. One of the greatest cities on earth in the Middle Age slowly became an empty. The city slowly emptied and was eventually left to its fate. As the people disappeared, the jungle returned again. Trees broke through stone. Roots wrapped around temples. Nature slowly reclaimed what humanity built. For centuries, Angkor remained hidden beneath the forest. Then, in the 19th century, French explorer Henri Mouhot arrived in Cambodia. He sketched everything he saw and carefully wrote down his observations, bringing the forgotten city back to the world's attention. Today, Angkor Wat stands once again as one of humanity's greatest achievements. Every year, millions of people come here to admire its beauty, explore its history, and remember the civilization that built it. Empires may fall, cities may be forgotten, but some stories refuse to disappear. Angkor Wat is one of them.